بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
I want to tell you a little story from the life of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ, when you study his life, there's a few segments of his life, a few different eras of his life that we study. The first 40 years of the life of the Prophet ﷺ are what's called pre-revelation, pre-prophethood. Then you have the next 23 years. The 23 years are divided between the first 13 years, which is the Meccan period, and then the last 10 years, which is the Medinan period. Now, something very interesting, people talk about, what have you done for me lately, remembering the most recent currents. There's an element of that here, and also there's, of course, a lot more documentation about the end of the life of the Prophet ﷺ versus the earlier part of his life. But the bulk of the information, the bulk of the conversation, the discussion about the life of the Prophet ﷺ will focus towards the end of his life, the Medinan period, and even that more so the end of the Medinan period. You will find more detail about the last couple of years of the life of the Prophet ﷺ than the rest of his entire life. And then the Medinan period is very detailed. Then when you get to the Meccan period, even though it was longer than the Medinan period, there will be a lot less discussion about the Meccan period. And then there is close to none, there's little to no discussion about the life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam before revelation, the first 40 years of his life. Well, one of the very fascinating things that occurred in his life before revelation, he was 20 years old at that time. And Mecca had been suffering through a lot of chaos and disarray during that time. And they had just come out of a very brutal war that many, many people had died with it. And they were just tired of all this. They said, we need to end all of this. So what happened was that they decided to put together an alliance, to have a pact, to take an oath. And it was known as Hilf al-Fudul, the honorable, the virtuous, the noble pact of social justice. And they sat together and they talked about the fact that we will grant safety and security to immigrants to Mecca, that we will look after the minorities, that the poor will not sleep hungry anymore, and so on and so forth. There were only 20 people who attended the signing of that pact, attended the final meeting. And the Prophet ﷺ was one of those 20 people. He was only 20 years old. Why is that so significant and relevant? Because in Arabian culture, in Arabian society at that time, age and seniority was a very big deal. And a 20-year-old would normally not be allowed within a meeting of this magnitude. The Prophet ﷺ, he campaigned and he pleaded and begged his uncle, I need to come with you to this meeting. And his uncle ended up taking him. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, when he would talk about that meeting later on, he would say that I would not trade anything in the world for my place within that meeting. That is till today. He said this after he became a prophet. He said, till today, it is one of the things that I am most proud of in my entire life.
جزاك الله جزاك الله جزاك